The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows of my corner office as I reviewed the latest acquisition reports. Stellar Solutions had just secured another major contract, one that used to belong to Morgan Industries, my ex-husband's company. My phone buzzed. James' name flashed across the screen, making my heart skip a beat. We hadn't spoken in 3 years, not since the divorce. Not since he told me I was just a secretary who would never amount to anything without him. Olivia? His voice was strained, missing its usual arrogance. I need to meet with you. It's important. My name is Olivia Chen, and at 42, I built something James Morgan never thought I could, a technology consulting firm that was revolutionizing the industry, the same industry where his company was now struggling to survive. James, I kept my voice neutral. This is unexpected. Please, he said, the words sounding foreign from him. Just one meeting. The Plaza Hotel, tomorrow at noon. I glanced at my calendar, already knowing it was clear. I've been expecting this call for weeks, watching Morgan Industries' stock price plummet. Fine, 1 hour. After hanging up, I called my CFO and closest friend, Sarah Mitchell. He finally called. About time, she replied. The latest reports show Morgan Industries lost 40% of their market share this quarter. Most of it to us. I smiled, remembering how this all started. 3 years ago, I was indeed James's secretary, and his wife. For 15 years, I'd supported his dreams, organized his meetings, smoothed over his mistakes, all while taking night classes in business and technology, building skills he never knew about. Then came the Ashley incident. I'd found the emails by accident while organizing his desktop, messages to his 25-year-old marketing director, full of promises and plans. Plans that included divorcing his dead-weight wife who was holding him back. You've never understood business, Olivia, he'd sneered when I confronted him. You're just a secretary. That's all you'll ever be. The divorce was quick. James was so confident in my insignificance that he didn't even fight my request for my savings and investment account. Money I'd been quietly setting aside for years, preparing for a future he couldn't imagine. Should I prepare the quarterly reports for tomorrow's meeting? Sarah's voice brought me back to the present. Yes, I said, and bring the Morrison contract details. James doesn't know we landed that one yet. The Morrison contract had been Morgan Industries' biggest account for a decade, until last week when they switched to Stellar Solutions, my company. The next day, I arrived at the Plaza Hotel 15 minutes early, choosing a quiet table with a view of the park. James walked in at exactly noon, looking older than his 45 years. His designer suit couldn't hide the worry lines around his eyes. Olivia, he said, sitting down. You look different. I was different. Gone was the meek secretary in sensible shoes. Today I wore a tailored Channel suit and Louboutins, success evident in every detail. What do you want, James? He shifted uncomfortably, pride warring with desperation. I'm sure you've heard about Morgan Industries' recent challenges. I try to stay informed about market conditions, I replied mildly, sipping my water. We're losing clients, he admitted. Major accounts that we've had for years. The board is talking about replacing me. He paused, the words clearly painful, I need your help. I raised an eyebrow. My help? I'm just a secretary, remember? His face flushed. I was wrong to say that. You were always more than that. The truth is, no one understood our operations like you did. The clients trusted you. If you came back, help me rebuild those relationships. You want me to come back to Morgan Industries. I kept my voice level, though inside I was laughing at the irony. As COO, he said quickly, full partnership. Whatever you want. Just help me save the company. I studied him, thinking about all the years I'd spent in his shadow. How he'd dismissed my ideas, belittled my ambitions, cheated on me with someone he thought was more on his level. And what makes you think I can help? I asked. Stellar Solutions seems to be dominating the market these days. Maybe you should talk to them. James's face darkened. Stellar Solutions. They came out of nowhere 2 years ago and started poaching our clients. Nobody even knows who runs it, some anonymous CEO who never makes public appearances. I smiled, reaching into my briefcase. Actually, James, that's not quite true. I pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. He picked it up, his face going pale as he read. Olivia Chen, CEO and founder, Stellar Solutions. No, he whispered. This is impossible. You couldn't? Couldn't what? I asked softly. Couldn't build a successful company? Couldn't innovate in ways you never imagined? Couldn't take everything you taught me and do it better? He stared at me, recognition finally dawning. The Morrison contract, the new software platform, the client migrations. It was all you. I nodded, enjoying the shock on his face. Turns out I understand business quite well. And now you want my help saving the company that you once said I wasn't qualified to work for. Olivia, please, he leaned forward, desperation clear in his voice. I know I treated you terribly. I know I underestimated you. But people's jobs are at stake. The company my father built. The company you ran into the ground. I corrected him. While chasing younger women and ignoring innovation. His face hardened. So this is revenge. You built all this just to destroy me? I stood up, gathering my things. No, James. I built this because I could. Because while you were busy underestimating me, I was learning, growing, preparing. Your company's failure isn't my revenge. It's simply the market recognizing superior service and innovation. Wait, he called as I turned to leave. What am I supposed to do? I paused, looking back at him. You wanted to meet to discuss terms. Here they are. Stellar Solutions will consider acquiring Morgan Industries at a fair market price, which given your current situation isn't much. You'll step down naturally. You want me to sell you my company? His voice cracked with disbelief. No, James. I want you to face the consequences of your choices, but I'm offering you a way to protect your employees and your father's legacy. Think about it. As I walked out of the Plaza Hotel, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. How did it go? I smiled, stepping into my waiting car. Prepare the acquisition paperwork. James Morgan just learned what a secretary can do. The next morning, I arrived at Stellar Solutions headquarters earlier than usual. The modern glass building reflected the rising sun, a far cry from Morgan Industries' aging offices across town. Sarah was waiting in my office, acquisition documents spread across the conference table. The numbers just came in, she said, handing me a tablet. Morgan Industries stock dropped another 15% overnight. Word about James seeking a buyer must have leaked. I scrolled through the financial reports, noting how far his company had fallen. What's their current market value? About a quarter of what it was 3 years ago, Sarah replied, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. We could buy them for less than what you got in the divorce settlement. The irony wasn't lost on me. James had been so eager to end our marriage quickly, to start his new life with Ashley, that he'd barely glanced at the settlement terms. He never questioned why I only wanted my personal savings and investment account, never wondered what I planned to do with it. My phone buzzed, a message from James. We need to talk. Coming to your office. I showed the message to Sarah, who raised an eyebrow. Want me to have security turn him away? No, I said, settling behind my desk. Let him come. It's time he saw exactly what I've built. 20 minutes later, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Chen, Mr. Morgan is here. Send him in. James walked into my office, stopping short as he took in the space. The view of the city, the elegant modern furniture, the wall of industry awards, everything screamed success and power. Quite a step up from a secretary's desk, I commented, noting his reaction. He sat down heavily in one of the visitor chairs. How did you do it? All of this in just 3 years? I didn't, I replied calmly. I spent 15 years preparing for this, learning the industry, understanding client needs, developing innovations. You just never noticed because you were too busy looking down on me. The new project management platform, he said slowly. The one that's revolutionizing how clients handle their workflows. That was your idea, wasn't it? The one you tried to tell me about 2 years before. Before you told me to stick to answering phones. I finished for him. Yes, that was mine, along with several other innovations you dismissed. He ran a hand through his graying hair. And Ashley, did you know about her before? The emails? I kept my voice neutral. Yes, I knew. Just like I knew about Jessica in accounting and Michelle in HR. I knew everything, James. I was your secretary, remember? His face flushed with shame. Olivia, save it. I cut him off. I didn't build Stellar Solutions for revenge. I built it because I saw opportunities you were too arrogant to notice. The fact that it's now in a position to acquire Morgan Industries is just poetic justice. Sarah walked in then, right on schedule, carrying more financial reports. Ms. Chen, the board is ready for the acquisition meeting whenever you are. James looked between us, realization dawning. You're really going to do this? Buy my company? Your father's company, I corrected him. The one you inherited and nearly destroyed. And yes, I'm offering to buy it, at a fair price, with guarantees to protect the employees. The employees, he repeated bitterly. You mean the ones who've been jumping ship to work for you? I smiled. You mean like David from engineering? Or Patricia from client services? Yes, I hired them. Along with dozens of other talented people you undervalued. Just like you undervalued me. Sarah handed him a thick folder. These are the preliminary acquisition terms. Our lawyers have already reviewed everything. The offer expires in 48 hours. James stared at the folder like it might bite him. And if I refuse? Then Morgan Industries continues its decline. I said simply, your stock price keeps falling, more clients leave, and eventually the board forces you out anyway. But by then the company won't be worth saving. He opened the folder, scanning the first page. His face paled. This is less than half what the company was worth last year. That's the market rate, Sarah interjected. Based on your current financial situation and client exodus. Client exodus, he laughed harshly. You mean the clients you stole? I leaned forward. I didn't steal anything, James. I offered better service, better technology, and better value. The same things I tried to tell you we should be doing 3 years ago. And Ashley, he asked suddenly. Where is she in all this? Your former marketing director. She left 6 months ago. Apparently, the startup she joined offered her a better opportunity. I didn't mention that the startup was a Stellar Solutions subsidiary. James stood up abruptly, the folder clutched in his hand. I need time to think. 48 hours, I reminded him. After that, the offer expires and whatever happens to Morgan Industries is out of my hands. As he walked out, shoulders slumped in defeat, Sarah turned to me. That was almost too easy. No, I said quietly, watching him through the glass walls as he waited for the elevator. The hard part was the 15 years I spent being invisible. This is just business. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of meetings and preparations. Word of the potential acquisition had leaked to the business press, sending Morgan Industries stock into an even steeper decline. I was reviewing the latest numbers when my assistant buzzed. Ms. Chen, Mr. Morgan Sr. is here to see you. I straightened in my chair. Robert Morgan, James's father and the founder of Morgan Industries. I hadn't seen him since the divorce. Send him in. Robert walked in slowly, leaning on his cane. At 75, he'd been retired for 5 years, leaving the company in James's hands. A decision he was probably regretting now. Olivia, he said, taking a seat. You've done well for yourself. Hello, Robert. This is unexpected. He looked around my office, nodding appreciatively. I always knew you were smart. Smarter than James gave you credit for. But this, he gestured at the view, the awards, this is impressive. Thank you, I said carefully. I assume James told you about the offer. He did. Robert set his cane aside. He also told me about Ashley, about how he treated you. I wanted to apologize. I blinked, surprised. You don't owe me an apology, Robert. Yes, I do, he insisted. I saw how he was changing, becoming arrogant, taking you for granted. I should have said something. I studied the old man's face, seeing genuine regret there. Robert had always been kind to me, treating me more like a daughter than an employee. What James did or didn't do isn't your fault, I said gently. We all make our own choices. Yes, he agreed, we do. And now I need to make one more. He pulled out the acquisition paperwork, signed and notarized. As majority shareholder, I'm accepting your offer. I stared at the documents. Does James know? He does now. I just came from telling him. Robert's hands trembled slightly as he set the papers on my desk. The company I built, it deserves better than what it's become. You can save it, make it something worthwhile again. Just then, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from security. Miss Chen, Mr. James Morgan is on his way up. He seems agitated. Robert sighed. I was afraid of this. Moments later, James burst into my office, his face red with anger. You went behind my back? To my own father. I didn't, I said calmly. Robert came to me. The board meets in an hour, Robert cut in. They'll approve the sale. It's done, son. James turned on his father. How could you? This company was my inheritance. An inheritance you squandered, Robert replied sharply. You inherited my company, but none of my values. Olivia built something remarkable while you were busy destroying what I spent 40 years creating. I watched the interplay between father and son, remembering all the times James had bragged about his birthright, his destiny to lead Morgan Industries. Security is on their way up, Sarah announced from the doorway. That won't be necessary, I said, standing. James is leaving. Aren't you, James? He looked between his father and me, defeat finally settling over his features. What am I supposed to do now? Start over, I suggested. Build something of your own instead of relying on inheritance. That's what I did. Later that evening, after all the papers were signed and the press releases drafted, I sat in my office looking at an old photo. It was from my early days at Morgan Industries, me at my secretary's desk, smiling up at the camera. James stood behind me, looking every bit the successful executive. Sarah knocked gently on my door. First round of transition starts tomorrow. You ready? I put the photo away. More than ready. How many Morgan employees have applied to stay on? Almost 80%, she replied. Turns out a lot of them are excited to work for you. They've seen what we've built here. The integration of Morgan Industries into Stellar Solutions took 6 months. We kept most of the employees, implementing the innovations and improvements I'd envisioned years ago. The company's value doubled within the first year. James moved to Florida, using his portion of the sale to start a small consulting firm. Last I heard, he was doing moderate business, nothing spectacular. Ashley had moved on to another startup, and Robert occasionally sent me emails checking on the company's progress. 1 year after the acquisition, I stood on the stage at the Industry Leadership Awards, accepting Company of the Year. Looking out at the audience, my employees, both old and new, working together seamlessly, I felt a sense of completion. Success isn't about inheritance or birthright, I said in my acceptance speech. It's about vision, determination, and the courage to believe in yourself even when others don't. Sometimes the biggest obstacles become our greatest opportunities if we're brave enough to see them that way. Later that night, I received an unexpected email from James. I finally understand what you tried to tell me all those years ago. About innovation, about valuing people, about really seeing them. I'm sorry I was too blind to learn from you then. Congratulations on the award. You earned it. I didn't reply. Some chapters are better left closed. The next morning, I walked into Stellar Solutions headquarters, now twice the size it had been before the acquisition. The lobby displayed both companies' histories, including a photo of Robert Morgan founding his company 45 years ago. Ms. Chen, my assistant, caught up with me at the elevator. The new technology team has finished the prototype you asked for, the one based on your original proposal from 3 years ago. I smiled, remembering how James had dismissed that same proposal. Schedule a demonstration for tomorrow. Let's show everyone what happens when good ideas find the right home. As I settled into my office, I looked out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, a former secretary was probably dreaming of something bigger, better, more than what others tell her she can be. I hoped she'd find the courage to prove them wrong, just as I had. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying what others build, it's building something better yourself. Something so undeniably successful that they're forced to acknowledge what they failed to see all along. And sometimes, the person they underestimated becomes the person they have to answer to. That's not just business. That's justice.